everybody, welcome to another episode of Color Addicts. Today I'm going to be doing a how to color in a diamond gem. So this is pretty cool. This is from a coloring book from a friend of mine. She sent me some coloring books to review. Gemstones, Volume 5. Amanda. So that's awesome. I'll put the links in the description and all of that. So I'm going to be doing I sped up the video on this because this probably took me about an hour to color, and you don't really need to listen to me talk for an hour about how I colored this. So first what I did is I kind of, in one of Amanda's books, she actually talks about how to color gems, and she actually has her own YouTube channel with a pretty big, oh, the cat got in the way, with a pretty big following. And she does a bunch of how-to videos. So if you want like an expert on how to color gems, I would head on over and check out her stuff too. But this is my take. In one of her other books, she has a kind of a walkthrough on how to color in gems. So I referenced that, and then I'm horrible at actually following directions. So then I kind of took whatever she said and then did my own thing. So let me know how you think it turns out. So the first step, I chose like 4 or 5 colors from light to dark that I wanted to use in the gem. And this is one of the more medium tone or medium lighter greens, but it's not my lightest color. It's like a limey green. So what I'm doing here is I'm coloring in a corner, and I could have actually colored out more, but I didn't know what I was really doing on this one. I was kind of just going with it because you can always add more, you know what I mean? It's much harder to take it away once you already put it down. But, so what I was doing here is I picked a corner in every shape and just colored it in. And I tried to be random, which many of you may know, it's hard to be random sometimes. You end up putting out patterns without even realizing you're doing it. And if you've ever looked at the top of a, any sort of a gemstone that's cut, the sparkle and geometric shapes it gives off, the way they're shaded are quite random. So the next color I picked was this, it's almost kind of a mustardy color. I should have maybe gone with more of a brighter yellow color, but, that's okay. So what I'm making sure I do when I add in the second color is I color over part of the green color so that I'm blending it a little bit. And I know I'm going to put a bunch of layers over these, so I'm not really too much worried about even how much pressure I'm using. I mean, I'm just enough to get the color down in a solid kind of way, but not like so hard that it gives you that shiny quality or whatever. And I'm just trying to go over each section. I had a lot of fun doing this. This is the first time I've actually colored in a gemstone, so I was kind of excited. Yeah, I'm thinking I should have went farther out with that first tone of green. And feel free to do, and see that one. I didn't put any green in that one, and I just put the yellow. Like, they don't all have to be the same. If you have any rings or necklaces, like, take a look at how the gems sparkle in light. Like, it's not, there's absolutely science to it, but it's, there's no absolutes, you know what I mean? At least in the art, the art side of this. So now I'm doing a darker color in the corner where I started. This is why I was saying I should have brought that initial green out farther, and then I could have brought the darker color out farther as well. I'd originally actually planned on adding some blue in here, like doing a blue-green. Somewhere along the line I abandoned that. I don't know exactly when that happened. But then I just decided to concentrate on like the green, yellowy color. One of my favorite stones is a peridot, and so I kind of kept that in mind. This isn't meant to be a peridot, but I just kind of kept that in mind when I was coloring. It's always nice to have some sort of references, you know, whatever you're drawing from, whether it's just your favorite colors or some objects from real life. I'm a much more, like I draw from real life a lot. I'm not as good at just like imagination kind of artist. I'm originally an oil painter, and I like painting things that are in front of me, or a photo of things, you know, in front of me. That's just how I go. Now I'm coming in with this lighter color, and I'm making sure that, again, I overlap with the previous color. And I even go in with this yellow one and go over even some of the greens. In times I go way farther than, and I find sometimes if you go in a different direction or in little circles when you're coloring over a previous color, if it's darker like that, you'll get it to blend a little bit more. I also have, later on I use in this video, but they have blender pencils, which are actually just a clear lead that help blend colors together a little better too. I often just use other colors to blend instead of the blender pencil, but I mean, I do like the blender pencil. Was a kind of a new find for me. I'd always taken a lighter shade and blended with that previously. I really love these. I'm using Prismacolors. I love the softness of a Prismacolor and how well they do, that you're able to blend them together. Can you imagine if this was an actual gemstone this large? That would be so amazing. Be like the largest gemstone ever. I don't even know. I wonder what the largest cut gemstone is. I know there's a super large, when I was younger, we used to go gem mining in North Carolina, Franklin, North Carolina. And we got some of those cut in gems, but they had like a gem museum there. And I remember there was this giant ruby, you know, uncut. I mean, it also had a lot of flaws and stuff in it, but it was a neat little, neat thing to look at. I don't know if it was actually worth anything because it was so flawed, but it was ginormous. It was like bigger than a basketball, or as big as a basketball. So now I got a lighter color yellow that I'm filling in the rest of the shapes with. At first I was trying to leave some actual white, and then I kind of decided to fill it in and decided if I wanted to put white back in, I could do that later, because it just kind of looked unfinished. It's funny when you're looking at the video now, which makes the image much smaller, you get a different perspective. You know, kind of like in painting, they always tell you to squint at your painting to see if your perspective is right and the composition is right, or, you know, features on faces, stuff like that. Stuff pops out to you that doesn't normally, and the same thing happens when the image is smaller when I'm editing these videos. I'm like, oh, I could have, like when it was right in front of me, if any white I left made it look very unfinished, I guess, to me. But now I'm seeing from afar that maybe I should have left a little more white in. So I'm just filling in with this yellow color, trying to figure out what I think looks, you know, accurate or cool. And through this process, I kept looking at my own engagement ring too, just to get an idea of like how the light hits it and what happens with all the different facets. And obviously it's, the scale is so different that it's hard to make the comparison, but you could see that, you got to kind of pick a light source, and like one side is usually lighter and then the other side had darker sections in it. So now I'm going back in with that original line pencil and kind of adding some depth, I think, to the shapes, and trying to get rid of that real heavy line between the two yellows that I used too. I didn't like how there was such a divide there. And this is like, that pencil is like literally one of my favorite colors. In our house, that's called Tiffy green, because my birth name is Tiffany, and I like that color so much that that's how it's known in my house. It's very funny. So I really like what this is starting to do to the gem. I think the more layers and the more color you add, the more depth it gives it. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I'll ever feel that there's like a finish to these kind of colorings, because it's like one more layer could just add this one little detail that it's missing. Um, and one it just, more depth, more this, more that. And at first I thought, by picking like one of the big images in the book, that I don't know, I kind of thought it would be easier. And now I'm thinking I could have started with a smaller one and it wouldn't have been so overwhelming, because this was a very it was a big project, honestly. So here now I'm going back in and adding more of that it was like the third pencil I used, that darker green. And what I'm trying to also do is focus the darker color on this side of the gem. I've decided that this is the shadow side. So I'm not going to go around the entire gem with the darker color. And then I'm also switching back and forth with the yellow and using that sort of as the blender pencil instead of using an actual blender pencil. Because sometimes I really like how the lighter colors, when you start overlapping them on the darker ones, it makes them much more brilliant. And I like the blending effect that it has. I also like using the blender pencil, and I will use that actually later. So now I got 3 pencils going in my hand that I'm doing the switch back and forth. I've decided apparently that these are my 3 favorite. So I just keep switching back and forth, and I think it's working pretty good. And like I said, I spent about an hour on this one. I mean, realistically, I could have spent probably another half hour adding more layers and depth. But I was happy about where I stopped. It was, it's one of those things. And like, I really have to try sometimes to stop myself and be like, stop adding. And then maybe look back in a day or two and be like, okay, do I want to add more now or not? And I'm still contemplating going back and adding in some white. I know I've seen some gem drawings that actually go after and eliminate the black line by covering it with white, like the reflection would be on all the corners. I don't want to do that, but maybe adding some highlighted. And I like that there's a couple facets that are like completely dark or completely light. And now here I brought in the blender pencil. I think it's pretty incredible, actually, what the blender pencil does. It makes it so much smoother, in my opinion. Sort of magical. So I'm going to keep playing with the darker tones a little bit, and then actually bring in an even darker one. So I'm going to put a link to Amanda's books where you can purchase them if you want to purchase one of these, this coloring book that has these gem images. It's full of gem images. I'm also going to post a walkthrough of a bunch of her coloring books so you can get a closer look. And also I'd like to invite all of you to join my Facebook coloring group where you can post pictures of any colored drawings that you have. It's Color Addicts with Twigs Greenpage on Facebook. Thanks.